Okay, this is the Unit 9 AP3 end of unit review to be able to make corrections and improvements. I'm going to come back to question 1 because that's going to take a little bit of time to go through. If you got yourself stuck on question 1, you need to think about managing your time and doing the questions which maybe are more straightforward to do and then coming back to that afterwards. So we're going to start with this question 2. Which shape is this? It's shape C. We could circle it, we could write shape C, and we could write that it's a square-based pyramid. Any of those things and you'll get 1 mark for that, so just write 1 and circle it if you're marking the paper. Question 3. Write down the mathematical name of each shape of the shape made by each net. So this one is just a cuboid. Now I'm going to give you guys 1 mark for the correct name and 1 mark for the correct spelling. Now in your GCSE exams you would actually just be given 1 mark and you'd need to get the correct spelling. But I'm going to give 2 marks, 1 for the correct name and 1 for the correct spelling. Then I've got this one, which if I folded it up would look like a Toblerone bar, and that is a triangular prism. Again, 1 mark for basically the right gist, something like triangle prism or something like that, and 1 mark for having that correctly spelled. And this is the same as the one above, so this one is a square-based pyramid. And again, that's up to 2 marks. Right, now, mathematical name for each 3D shape. I've got a cube. Or actually, it could be a cuboid here. I think it's actually a cuboid. This, again, is a triangular prism. I don't know why we've got duplication on this, really. That's a triangular prism. And this is a cylinder. And we'll just have 1 mark for each of these. Well, we've had these 2 already, so we'll have 2 marks for cylinder, the correct spelling as well. Okay, we've had 1 mark. We've already given marks for these 2, so 1 mark for cuboid, 1 mark for triangular prism, and 1 mark for 2 marks for cylinder, 1 mark for it being correctly spelled. Moving on, turning the page over. What name is given to a chord which passes through the center of a circle? So a chord connects 2 points on the outside, and if it passes through the center, you basically got a situation like this, and that's a diameter. And we'll have 1 mark for the correct word, something like diameter, and 1 mark for the correct spelling as indicated there. Here is a centimeter grid with point P plotted. A circle has center P and radius 4. The circle passes through the points A, B, C, and D. Complete the coordinates. It's quite wordy, but it's actually fairly straightforward. Now, if I think of this point A, it's 2 up, okay, which means it's going to be somewhere along this line. Now, if this is a circle with radius 4, what I could do, and I would use a pencil. I've got a pen here just to show up better on the video, but if you imagine radius 4, it's going to kind of look like this, right? It's going to be 4 away from P there, 4 away from P there, 4 away from P, 4 away from P. I would draw a sketch of that shape. Now, where's point A? If it's too high, it's going to be just here. That's where A is going to be. What are the coordinates of that? 4, 2, 1 mark. Point B is 8 here, and how far up? Well, it's going to be there, 6 up, 1 mark for that. Point C is something 10, so it's going to be on this line, it must be there, so it must be 410, 1 mark for that. And point D, 0, and it's going to be there, 6, 0, 6, 1 mark for that. Question 7. A circle has diameter of 8. What is the length of its radius? So here's my circle. That diameter, all of that is 8. So half of that is this bit, which must be half of that distance, so that's half of 8, which is 4 centimeters. That's 1 mark. Right, draw and label the correct line on each. So diameter is, now it doesn't matter what angle it's on, it matters that it goes exactly through the middle. Okay, that's your diameter. So it could be at this angle, it could be this angle, it could be that way. Doesn't matter. It goes exactly through the middle. That's 1 mark. A chord is just joins any 2 points on the circumference like that. That's a chord. Okay, it could be there, but it doesn't go through the middle. 1 mark. And a tangent just touches the outside and continues on its way. Something like that. Could be anywhere around the circle, but it's a line which just touches the outside, and that's 1 mark for that. Okay, question 9. So I'm going round 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It's not as much as 50. Now, if I went 41, 42, 43, 44, it wouldn't work. So it must be going up in 2. 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50. That works. So that bit there is 46 miles per hour. And last question. Convert the following units in, sorry, that's 1 mark there. Convert the following units into the ones shown in brackets. 12 millimeters. There's 10 millimeters in each centimeter, so I'm going to divide by 10. That gives me 1.2 centimeters. 1 mark. 1.52 meters in centimeters. There's 100 centimeters in each meter. These are the facts that you just absolutely need to know. Okay, that there's 10 millimeters in each centimeter, that there's 100 centimeters in each meter. So I'm going to times by 100 here, so I've got 152 centimeters. 1 mark. There's 1,000 grams in a kilogram. A kilo means 1,000 of. So a kilometer is 1,000 meters. A kilogram is 1,000 grams. So this is going to be, I have to times by 1,000. That gives me 700 grams. 1 mark. And then 1,250 meters, there's 1,000 meters in each kilometer. So I'm going to have to divide by 1,000, which gives me 1.25 kilometers. I will accept 1.250, but you do not need that 0. Okay, so that's another mark. Now, for question number 1, we'll go through this one carefully, just really taking my time. So question 1. Now, when we worked on this, I know there's a couple of people who are new to the group and maybe didn't do this, but when we worked on this, the way in which there's plenty of ways of doing it, but the way in which I suggested was to first work out what are the dimensions of the base, right? So if I think about it, kind of this bottom part here, the base is 10 wide by 4 long, okay, so, or 10 this way, 4 this way. So I'm going to draw that in. I'm going to be very careful with it. And I'm going to do that. So 10, let's see, let's go here, 10, I'll put it down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, so that's 10 that way, and it's going 4 this way. And then what we did, if you can remember, was to label that as base. Now you don't have to label that as base, but that's what we did, and I think that helps us to think about it. Okay, so what we're going to do, if they've got one rectangle 10 by 4, we're going to give them a mark for it. Okay, then we're going to attach on the sides to this. Okay, so the left side and the right side attaching onto the base, okay, like folding up on the sides. And if you think about it, each of those are 4 that way by 2 this way. So it's going to be 4 by 2. So I'm going to put them on here. This is my sides. So if they've got 2 shapes on their diagram, they don't necessarily have to be attached to the base, but 2 shapes which are 4 one way by 2 the other. If you've got that, that's going to be another mark. So there's a mark kind of for both of those. Okay, so I've got the left side and the right side. Then we can attach onto the base the front and the back. Now the front and the back are each 10 long by, again, 2 high. So it's going to look like this, 10 by 2 here, and 10 by 2 there. So here's my front, and here's the back. Let's have another mark for that, for 2 10 by 2 rectangles. So front and the back. Okay, and then I've got the top. Now the top is exactly the same size as the base, isn't it? Otherwise it wouldn't fit correctly. So it's 10 by 4, and I can attach that on here, 10 by 4. And that's going to be my top. So I've got all parts of this now covered. And that's so the front, 1 mark for the front and back, 1 mark for the correct top. Okay, so that's 4 marks potentially for that.